Brain Candy Podcast, episode
Hello.
781. Hello, world.
I haven't seen you in a turtleneck in a minute.
You have, but you have only probably in black ones.
Oh, maybe that's it.
But
Just blends in. This one, is looking extra Diane Keaton.
my affection for turtlenecks has waned, I will say.
Okay. Yeah, I feel like
not
they're not
as enthusiastic.
Yeah.
Sometimes you need a little room to breathe.
Right. You went into in your pump club days into like Arnold
Tank
like
tops.
yeah, tanks.
Tanks only. Well, it's a little too cold for that now, but I'm in a tank top in spirit as a pump club member. How are you?
I'm doing good. Yeah. I feel like well, actually, there was one thing that I just had this weird experience driving on the road here, which I need to know if this is like a just me thing, why I was so put off by this.
Yeah.
So I'm driving here. I'm at a red light, and there's traffic backed up the other direction. So I'm like in line with people who are headed in the opposite direction on the road as me. And I look over, and this guy is making very direct eye contact with me. And it was so off-putting. I was like, what are you doing, sir? Nobody makes eye contact on the road. Avert your gaze.
What kind of eye contact?
Just
aggressive?
It wasn't aggressive. It was
Or
just eye
attraction?
contact. Like he was looking in, like he was just the person. I feel like there's this unspoken rule of like, mind your own business when
That is for sure.
when I'm at like a stoplight and the person's next to me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
I
he
feel very
was
strongly
breaking those
about that.
rules.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Right.
like I felt like somebody had opened the door on me in a bathroom stall.
That's terrible.
You know that feeling when you're like,
Exposed.
and then afterwards you're like a little embarrassed. I'm like, why am I getting this over just eye contact on the road? So,
Were you tempted to do it back and like just play chicken about it?
The green light had turned, so we were both now driving.
Right. I don't like it.
I don't
like it
either.
one
Thank
bit.
you. Okay, it's not just me.
Look away, loser.
Thank you. I'm very validated. This is exactly my feeling, and I was like, wow, what has happened to me?
But I mean, you've come to the right place. I mean, if you're looking for like cynicism towards humanity or misanthropy, I am the gal to come to.
Yeah, I do have another.
Sorry, Fred Rogers.
Yeah,
I don't
sorry.
mean it.
But you keep it balanced. That's he's in the background, and I got my Toy Story toys there, and then we just can be bitter and cynical on air. Yeah,
Yeah.
I had another experience where I was seated. I'm not kidding. Directly next to a heckler in a comedy show, and the worst
What is
kind,
with you?
drunk heckler. That's what I said. I said, "This is what is happening." Eli looked at me and he's like, "Not again."
Yeah.
And I didn't
You're
say
the
anything this
problem.
time. I just kept it. He was so bad at one point, and it's a comedian we know. I went to go see Ian Bagg, and so funny, does all crowd work. So
Well, that's why I don't know if you can even call it a heckler, though, if it's like
when
crowd.
he's in the back and he's just yelling random shit.
Like what? What was he
Like,
yelling?
Let me at him. Give it to me. Yeah, let me at. And we're so far in the back where he can't even see where the sounds are coming from. And then the guy next to me goes, "She wants to talk to you," and I'm like, "No, I don't. Shut up."
The drunk guy did that to you?
Yes.
That's awful.
And then got up and proceeded to stumble, grab my shoulder, then fall all over our entire row.
Oh my gosh. Was he alone?
No, he was with a woman who was drinking just as heavily as he was. And this guy was happily married. And they were like all over each other. I'm like,
That's
wow.
nice for them. I'm happy for them.
Look, there really is a lid for every pot, like you say.
I mean,
Man.
that has to really bug single people, though, when they see people like that coupled.
It bugs me as a coupled, not married person. I'm
Why?
like, so he could propose. He proposed to her. This guy
That's
does it.
great.
Come on.
Right.
Come on.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I'm starting to wonder because the common thread in these stories is you, Sarah.
I know. That's what I was thinking. Like, what am I doing? Or this is some universal test where I have to. So I tried to go about it the other way and not react or like not try to not let it ruin my time.
Well, how'd that go?
Bad.
Yeah.
I need practice makes perfect, I guess.
I feel like
this
is a death penalty.
I feel like this may be in line with the stretching goal.
Yeah.
Where my patience is what's fucking stretching.
Yeah. I don't know, though. I mean, there's a special place in hell for hecklers, I think. It's just such a selfish quirk.
Yeah.
Like, nobody
it was
likes
very
it.
much
Nobody.
Look at me. And then he would make comments about the joke that weren't, that changed every time. Sometimes there would be an offensive joke and he would go, oh, no. And then sometimes he'd be like, oh, yep.
Into it.
And I was like, pick a lane, buddy.
Real-time reviews this guy was doing.
It was so all over the place.
I mean, I kind of love that. Because, you got a story out of it. It's memorable.
I knew that. I was like, I can't wait to tell Susie about this.
Yeah. That is the thing about, sometimes when you're having a bad time in the moment, long term it pays off because it gives you a story.
Yeah. And it was like, I went to the comedy show. I just randomly looked to see like, oh, I need a laugh. Like, I want to laugh this evening. Yeah. And he happened to be there. And Susie and I have seen him before in California. And he's so funny. Mm-hmm. And
it's funny though, because when I watched the Gary Goldman special, the new one that's out, which is called Born on Third Base on HBO Max, number one, he has contempt for Seinfeld, which is fascinating to me. Because when I saw him live and on this, he did Seinfeld stuff, two different things. And it's like aggressive because, you really don't mess with the king of comedy or whatever.
Right.
But then also he clearly has an axe to grind with comedians that do crowd work.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I think he thinks it's hacky and like how then you become like unwittingly like the star of that comedian's TikTok because they post, the videos. Yeah. Some of them only talk to people who call out. Yeah. So it's like voluntary, but some of them like don't, they just do whoever.
Yeah.
And I know that's Ian's whole thing, but I guess some comics must think it's like a hacky form of comedy.
Yeah. I think, it's very different. I feel like there's the structured, planned, really honed in on like act. Mm-hmm. And then there's just riffing and like people.
What do you think
those
about
are almost two different kinds
like...
of skills in humor. Like one is almost more. Well, it's just different skills. It's like one's fast and on the go and quick wit, which is really an art, and I love, and I think it's hilarious. And I also respect and really like find the work when it's the more structured set to be more impactful.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Like they always
memorable.
Yeah. More memorable, more impactful.
Well, I'll tell you what else is memorable, and that's how delicious my naked wines are.
Oh, give it to me. I am not about dry January. I'm sorry.
No way.
I know.
No, thanks. This is exactly the month. I have a wet January because it is the worst month of the year.
Right.
The holidays are over. It's freezing as heck. And then there's no holidays or anything like exciting happening. Mm-hmm. That's a time to crack those babies open.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
Time to have an entire box delivered right to your front door.
Yeah, and they're going to be delish because they are like, they got rid of the middleman and they allowed all these is the word artisanal?
Yeah.
Is that what you call them?
Yeah.
Artisanal winemakers.
Small batch, I guess. Artisanal. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you get these delicious, different wines to try instead of the old garbage you're picking up at the old liquor store or whatever.
Same old. Right.
So now you don't have to go to a wine store and just pick bottles based on whichever label is your favorite. You're going to get quality wines at a fraction of the price delivered to your house. What more do you want? head to nakedwines.com/braincandy and click enter voucher in the top right when you get to the website and put in brain candy for the code and the password to get 6 bottles of wine for just $39.99 with shipping included. That's $100 off and less than $7 per bottle. That's nakedwines.com/braincandy and use code and password braincandy and grab 6 bottles for just $39.99. One last time, that's nakedwines.com/braincandy, code and password braincandy for $100 off your first 6 bottles. This is a great deal. Okay, we love it. We love vino.
Yeah, I've been into mulled wine, spiced wine lately.
You are into it?
Yeah, I make it. Dump that whole bottle of red in the pot and add a whole bunch of fun spices and seasoning. And
it's a nice time of year for that.
It's so good.
Warms
wine.
The old cuckolds. Okay, let's get into it. Okay.
Yeah.
There is a documentary on Max called Great Photo, Lovely Life. Did you see it?
No. I never even heard of it.
It's brand new. And do you remember in Candy Club we did that documentary about that little boy who, I think it was called Rewind, and he had been abused by his uncles.
Uh-huh.
Do you remember that? And it was very, I don't know, it was just rough watching because it was this little boy and it's his family, you know how it normally is.
Yeah.
But they had all this footage and whatever. So I on his Instagram saw him promoting Great Photo, Lovely Life. And I assume it's because it's of a similar nature, but here's what's bonkers about it.
Yeah.
The filmmaker is covering the story of her grandfather who was an abuser, and he is in it, and she asks him about it, and he acknowledges it and is like, not, I wouldn't say candid, but but
doesn't say he doesn't do it. Right.
Yeah, he says that he's, struggled with that and whatever. And it's just, I think it's so shocking to actually see a person who's not in jail or anything, like kind of acknowledging their attraction and also like their predation.
Oh, it's like that. I was thinking physical abuse. We're talking sexual abuse he's admitting on there.
Yeah, because that, right. It was unbelievable.
Very, I mean, it's good. It's a fucking PSA.
Yeah.
Maybe through seeing that somebody else. Why? How come nobody's pressing charges? How's this guy walking around?
He has gone to jail for it.
Oh, I see.
But the craziest thing is that like his wife stayed with him. And it was
staying with somebody who does that is saying that you approve of that behavior.
Yeah. It
or
is.
That you will allow somebody in your life that continues to do something that hurts other
what
people.
struck me about it, so he on camera acknowledges having done this, but he definitely is not fully open, and he kind of downplays it, makes it sound like it was just like maybe a one-time thing or a couple times, like no big whoop. And I'm not saying no big whoop. I'm saying that's how he presents it. And once you're finished with the film, you realize that this was, what's the word? Compulsive. Like he was, if he had even like a few minutes with somebody, he was going to try to do this. Like, you know how usually they talk about the grooming and how it can take so long, and they like really invest time in grooming these kids. Yeah. But sometimes I guess the grooming doesn't take that long. And then he was able to constantly be doing this, and they would like move around, and he did it to his daughter. He did it to his granddaughters. And it's just insane.
Who's doing a bad job of prosecuting? Like, this is a repeat offender who is showing no signs of stopping.
I think that was part of the message of the film, though, was that in order for this to happen at that level, it really can't just be one person involved. Maybe the wife is enabling, or other family members, or their employer, or because I think people don't want to be the person that, like, quote unquote ruins somebody's life, meaning of the what's the word?
Like perpetrator.
Offender.
Yeah, the offender.
They think, they might fire that person, but they don't go to the police, or, you know what I'm saying?
Awful. Right.
It was so illuminating because it really put a face to stuff and made you see it like, wow, this is actually going on.
Yeah.
It's not just this abstract idea.
Right. Oh.
So that I would recommend it. Obviously the subject matter is disturbing, but it was fascinating. And it's also fascinating how, like, one person can be mad at their mom for putting them in that position, but then the person that's mad maybe put their own kids in a bad position because, like, it's a familial thing where, like, those relationships are complicated.
That you grew up seeing. It's that it feels familiar. Mm-hmm. So there's some feeling of safety, even though it's not.
Isn't that just hard to believe?
Really hard to believe. Do they offer anything about, like, what's going to happen next, or anything?
Well, he's dead now.
Oh, thank God.
He died during the filming.
Okay. That makes me feel a little better. Yeah.
But he never really showed remorse, which is what I noticed in the letters that I've written to the people that are convicted of that. There is a real cognitive dissonance, or I don't know if willful ignorance or what the word is, where they don't want to, or they refuse to see how harmful their actions were in a different way than you find with, like, other types of crimes.
Yeah.
Why?
Maybe because,
like, this guy kept saying, like, she liked it. I know. I'm just saying.
Right.
Like, they believe that.
Maybe. So in the same way that it can be really hard when you are somebody who experiences, like, an eating disorder, where food is something eating is part of the human experience. Like, we need it to survive. So changing habits and behaviors around that is complicated and difficult because it's something that you need. It's part of survival.
You can't give up.
Right.
Entirely. Right.
Yeah. So I wonder if the compulsion or the way that this satisfied, Susie's making a vomiting face, which is very
well. No, it's like I dry heaved. It just happens sometimes when you talk about these things.
Yeah, for sure, it does. That is, like, the really getting, like, creeped out by it.
Yeah,
and so I would imagine that maybe they can justify that, rationalize it, or it feels like you're giving in to the same urge as, like, satisfying a biological need, which is fucking not about, like, ew. So,
yeah, it was fascinating, but obviously disturbing.
Yeah.
Okay. A mystery has been solved.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So the mystery was that this woman bought a 1800s, a dress from the 1800s, like with a bustle, one of those old-timey, real pretty big ones. And in the dress was this pocket, and it had a piece of paper in it with, like, writing on it.
Oh, wow.
And it was, like, made no sense. So this is a couple of the lines, but there's, like, a lot of lines. But it said, Bismarck, omit, leafage, buck, bank, Paul, Ramaphi, Lomi event, false new event. So, like, these collections of words or phrases that were, like, nonsensical, but, like, seemed to represent something. Like, so people have been trying to figure out, people have been trying to figure out this code. And they referred to it as the cryptic silk dress.
Oh.
And for a while, it was, like, ranked. You know how these people, they're like a community.
I'm sure.
the code crackers.
Yeah.
They ranked this among the 50 top like unsolved.
I get it. I feel like that could very well be my future of, joining some group like that. Please.
Why?
Because I love puzzles.
And you just like a mystery and you want to solve it.
I would definitely be interested in subscribing to a newsletter or email, subscription that would send me information like this. And
like the mysteries?
Yes.
Yeah. And then you'd want to hear
codes.
Like progress that was made cracking them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's give it a try. What do you think this might have been?
Okay.
Just based on those few words. What do you got? What's your theory?
False. Give me a couple. Give me the last few again.
Okay. Paul Ramafi Lomi event. False new event. I know.
False new event. Is she planning a party?
I love it. I wish. That's so much better than what it really is. Was she planning a party?
New event.
Can you imagine that party? False new events happening tonight.
False
this party has everything.
Phony new event.
Yeah. Like Stefan. This party has everything. Silk, dresses, ramifees, leafage.
False. Is it instructions for someone who works for her?
You could say anything and I would laugh.
Right.
It's just cracking me up. Well, it'll be a cliffhanger. And instead I'll tell you about what the mystery is of my leggings. And that's that they're Honey Love. And that's why they're so great.
And I'm going to just say it. My favorite part is you don't have to wear underwear with them.
Yes. These babies are supportive.
Hold everything in. And
not going to see through them. That's
not
for sure.
see through. And
They're
you don't have to,
super high quality.
And they got pockets in the side for your cell phone. They're the perfect travel pant.
Very flattering. Honey Love has all the stuff that you need to support that body, where you're like wanting to be all put together, all supported, all secure.
Snatched.
Cute as heck.
As they say.
Yes. So they have bras, leggings. They even have dresses, all the good shapewear. Treat yourself to the best bras and shapewear on the market and save 20% off at honeylove.com/braincandy. Use our exclusive link to get 20% off. honeylove.com/braincandy. After your purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show. Tell them we sent you. Start the new year with confidence thanks to Honey Love. And this is a great thing if you're doing one of your workout, like New Year's resolutions still. Treat yourself to some nice threads.
Yeah, I want to check out those dresses.
Yeah, it's really cute. It's like a little black dress, the one that I saw.
I like that.
Okay, so the answer is that the code is weather reports.
Oh, for fuck's sake. Weather reports?
Yeah, they have this whole elaborate code that they were sending to the cities around the country to notify them of what their weather was going to be, I guess, by telegram. And that was the code. And so the lines I gave you, here's what they meant.
Yeah. Oh, please.
Okay. Bismarck Omit Leafage Buckbank indicated that the reading was taken at Bismarck Station in the Dakota Territory. Omit was for an air temperature of 56 degrees and pressure of 0.08 inches of mercury, though the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration has said the true reading could have been higher. Leafage was for a dew point of 32 degrees observed at 10 p.m.
Leafage was not for it's windy outside, some leaves are falling off the trees.
No.
This is terrible code.
Buck was clear weather with no precipitation and a northerly wind. And bank is a wind velocity of 12 miles per hour and a clear sunset.
Huh. I would have never guessed that, obviously.
Well, that is for sure. But here's what's weird to me.
Why don't they just say those words?
Yeah. Seems
it feels like
equally
less
long.
Right. You're right. It's
In the New York Times article, it had pictures of the actual paper and the handwriting. And there were many, many lines. And several of them said the word windy. And so I thought, how was this not solved sooner?
okay. I wonder if, in the same way that I got caught on the word false or event or something like that, because it's
Yeah.
there twice.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, party, because it says event. But
Oh, yeah, party.
I wonder if it's because we feel like that because we already know that the answer is weather. So now windy stands out in those collections of words. But a lot of other words maybe would be repeated but don't stand out. Or they like event stood out to me.
No, because
you know.
most of the first words were cities and locations.
Okay.
Right?
Right.
And then it's almost like you could look down and it would be windy, like right above each other.
Come on.
And I thought, how did nobody think like, hey, that maybe it's about wind?
Have you tried wind? That is very funny.
I almost think these people
want an
get
answer
kind
to
of
that.
disappointed.
I actually am not okay not having an answer to that.
Yeah, I know. Me too.
Like that is something I could easily see myself getting fixated on, and like it's like an itch I can't scratch. But in the past,
yeah. Well, I feel like they have to be disappointed.
yeah,
You know
I
what
thought
I
it was
mean?
going to be like the fucking wind talkers, code breaking, messages from some, I don't know, communication between enemy line. I don't know.
Yeah.
And it was.
Well,
It
and
was
now
the weather over there at Bismarck or whatever.
they're never satisfied, these people, though, because they're like, now we want to know, why did she have the paper?
No, let it go.
Did she get the whatever?
No, she was on the spectrum and obsessed with the weather. Let it go.
You think?
I just, who knows?
That's your theory. Yeah, I mean, I don't know why, but I think it's because they just are a little sad when these mysteries get solved.
Yeah. Do you ever think if somebody went through like your house and years later and tried to piece together all the things, they would find certain things that would really make them scratch their head?
In this
I bet
house,
a lot of
I have an
Yes.
Arnold Schwarzenegger head
I
right
know.
behind me.
people would be like, "What? Who?" And then yeah.
Yeah, I think that every house probably has real weird stuff in it.
Yeah. Real weird. Your
Yeah.
house especially. Your house
Mine?
is- Yes.
No, I feel like other people's houses especially.
No, I mean like your house could have a secret hidden wall that
Oh,
like
that's
you
for sure.
tapped in one place and all of a sudden the paneling fell down and there's like secret messages written on mirrors and
No,
shit.
you ain't kidding, because
I know.
literally right behind this shelf that you see is like a panic room.
See?
I know.
And it really, I've been there. It is. So
Yeah, it's like this very narrow, not anything spot where I'm going if something happens.
something happens. Right.
All right. Well, I'm just glad that those cryptic weirdos did their job. This one guy, he had been working on it for months.
Yeah. You think these people have like, this is what they love to do. This is,
I
You
mean,
know.
remember what's that one that we talked about on the show a lot about, that author that hid the thing,
Yes.
like a treasure
Treasure.
chest of like gold doubloons or whatever.
yes.
And those people were serious. I mean, they just couldn't handle it. They were so excited to find where this treasure was and
Right.
everything. At least
People
there
died,
could have
right?
been people died.
Yes. This is serious.
But at least that had you. If you found it, you actually got something.
Right. This you just
meteorology
get, maybe
thing.
some would say the ultimate reward,
What?
bragging rights.
That's what you think is the ultimate reward.
know.
I'll take the doubloons.
Yeah, right.
Okay. Well,
I'm changing. Bragging rights is getting less important to me as doubloons.
yeah.
Can't pay medical bills with doubloons.
Yeah, you can brag about the blooms though,
Right.
so it's like
Yes,
2 for 1 on
win-win.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Did you read about how Newton's third law of motion was broken last year by something on Earth? So the third law is, for every action,
There's an equal and opposite
there's a
reaction.
reaction. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Wouldn't that be with the particle stuff of something being created and then, where is this?
On
Geneva?
Earth.
Well, I know it's on Earth.
What's the question? Where is what?
Did they conduct this experiment?
It happens all over,
Wait,
including in your
what?
body.
What? For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction.
Yeah.
It happens in your body?
Well, it can after you make sweet love.
Oh, what is it?
Sperm. So
what?
Apparently, sperm have these.
I'm thinking we're talking nuclear reactors over here,
Yeah.
particle studies, and you're like,
It's way
nah,
sexier.
just a guy jizzing in a cup. What?
So sperm have these filaments called flagella that protrude from their bodies like hair.
Okay.
And it totally sounds like I'm just making this all up.
It really does. Like, but I'm buying what you're selling.
They're
so
called
let's fucking
flagella.
go. Right.
And these flagella possess a property called odd elasticity that allows them to act without creating a reciprocal reaction. So these, like when they're swimming, then nothing happens around them. You know how like normally if I go swimming, there's like ripples and action.
How does that do that?
Just
there.
Just
reacting to nothing.
And they really don't know much, but they're excited about it. And they say that it might tell us what makes life alive. That's literally what they said.
What?
I was like, I don't even know what that means.
I feel more comfortable with the computers taking over the world. That I don't know what the answer to that is. That's like one of those things where the scientists know what they're looking at and they know why this is important and they're trying to relay this message back to us as just like regular humans over here. And I'm like, I hear what you're saying, but my little old brain doesn't have the...
Yeah. It's like when we think about eternity.
Yeah.
It breaks in there.
It just breaks. It like, you know what happens? It's like that dead screen on Tetris, that game where it's like computing just like, nope, we just shut down. We're good. It's too much.
I know. It's also some algae, not just sperm, but sperm is more fun.
But the bigger implications of that is we've been Newton's three laws,
I know.
blah, 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 relativity, blah, blah, or that's Einstein. But, like just all these things that we just get hung up on as how it
hung
is.
Up on. I love that idea that we're all just like really attached to it.
Yeah. Well, don't get too attached to any idea because now there's only two laws. Please, Pluto, remember that guy?
Uh-huh.
Please.
I know. You're so right. I think we all have trust issues because of Pluto.
Right. I had acronym. I had fun little phrases. Now, my very excellent mother just served us 9.
Yeah.
What?
Crack that code.
Yeah. So, again, don't get too attached, people.
But speaking of
Change is
sperm,
inevitable. Yeah.
You don't even need it to enjoy Dipsy stories.
That's right.
You don't need anything except your ears and your imagination.
Yes.
Because Dipsy Stories is going to serve up some really nice stuff for you to get your motor running or maybe
and I mean
exactly
what you want.
Yeah. It's like they know you better than you know
really
yourself.
Do. They're like, here you go, Sarah. This exact story. Oh, that you were thinking about this the other day? Here it is.
Yeah, because you just answer a little quiz and then it gets the gist.
Yeah.
And then they will maybe help you get in the mood if you want to rev up. Yeah.
Something else I appreciate is that it's all illustrated. Mm-hmm. There's something about it not being real people that feels like safer and comfortable and less like I have to think about, I'm not writing any fan fiction in my head for the characters, so it's already written for me. And I like that it's all illustrated. I think it's pretty how it's all laid out. It's very
They also have sleep stories and wellness stories, so it's not just,
sexy.
Wild antics.
Yes.
For listeners of the show, Dipsy's offering an extended 30-day free trial when you go to dipsystories.com/braincandy. That's 30 days of full access for free when you go to DIPSEA stories.com/braincandy. Dipsystories.com/braincandy.
Yes.
You know what I got to say, though, about that Newton's law thing?
Yeah.
To me, I mean, that sperm thing is great and everything, but to me, the true mind bender is that Newton even came up with anything like that.
Right. Wasn't he like a young guy too? He was like very young when he did all this.
This was a long time ago. Yeah. And this guy came up with things that only now maybe sperm don't match, but everything else.
Right.
Well, he was right. I mean, how did he come up with that? I want to know.
You know, the apple had something to do with it.
I know, but like, come on. And then you came up with all those.
Right.
The rest is filled in the blanks.
That is a good, or maybe it was like obvious stuff that people were already talking about and he just like wrote it down.
Okay. Well, actually, since I said fill in the blanks, I watched a documentary called Filling in the Blanks, and it was like, it's weird because it was made relatively recently, the last couple of years, but it watches like more like an early 2000s style.
Mm-hmm.
So, kind of like maybe a little amateur-y, but it was interesting because it was about one of these people that sent their DNA for like 23andMe.
Yes.
And then the results weren't what they expected, you know, where you find out, wait, I have other siblings, or where'd my dad go, or whatever.
Right.
And even though it was a little amateur, like it really did explore some of the concepts that I hadn't really thought about. Like, because in his case, he has two brothers that grew up with him. And then they found out each of them had a different dad because they received sperm donation from ? They found out later it was like medical students. You know how they would do that sometimes? Because at that time, there weren't sperm banks. You couldn't even, I don't even think they were freezing sperm at that time. It was all like live donation, like right then.
Jeez.
Not banging, but, you know,
obviously.
like it's still warm, basically.
Right.
Here you go.
Taking it from one room to the other.
Yeah. And so, I don't know. Here's what I wanted to ask you. Because you see this a lot with like adoption stories, and anytime somebody wants to know like more about their biological stuff. Number one, you know how they often say like, I always felt like I might be a little different.
Yep.
Okay. And then they find out later that they are. Do you think we all think we're a little different? Like we all feel a little bit like we don't kind of fit in this world.
What happens, I don't think it's so much how the person feels, but how they get treated. In a way,
for these guys, it definitely was like that.
Okay,
their dad was
I think
really
that's
mean to
it.
them.
The parent, the person who is presenting as the biological parent in those situations doesn't have the same natural instinct to. I think that when the child is biologically yours, there is a different natural instinct to protect. Like if you had, I don't know, I'm thinking like a burning building, and one child is your biological child and one is the one from the sperm donor, you can save one. I feel like the instinct is save your biological child if you have like no time to think about it. And I would imagine that if you're in a family with maybe one person or one child that is biologically related to that father, and then other two that are not, there's going to be some subtle, like, differences in attention given, or
well, especially if the reason that your child isn't your biological child is because of limitations that you had with fertility, and then that child may represent something you have shame about, or
because I can imagine when there weren't sperm banks, these people probably weren't meeting with therapists to talk about their feelings around this stuff either.
Yeah.
And then nobody tells the kids, and that's a big problem.
Okay, so previously we've talked about how things have changed a lot in the adoption category and how you're encouraged by experts to not be secretive, that does more harm than good, that you pretty much just have that as a part of your story from birth, and how that's so great. Well, it is a little bit more complicated when it's sperm donation because adoption doesn't really inherently require the discussion of sex or how babies are made.
Right.
Oh. Because if you're adopted, you may or may not connect the dots about all of that. Yeah. But like, I wouldn't want to have to explain to my toddler, like, maybe it's easier and I'm just like overthinking it.
Yeah, there are ways. There are these wonderful books out there called It's Not the Stork. And then there's another one called, I can't remember what the other one's called, but it's like a series of books that does a really good job of like age appropriately explaining these things in very vague terms, but ways that do break down like the most basic biology of it. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think we have to.
I don't know. I think it would be a more challenging narrative to convey, what a sperm. I'll be like, listen.
And that one person's does work and one person's doesn't work. And so we had to like borrow from this guy and it doesn't mean anything about like,
It's challenging, I would imagine.
It's challenging.
Yeah. But I guess if you just always talk about it, then it's the same as the adoption thing. But I did think, you'd have to really come up with like a strategy.
Yeah. And I think those dads need to work really hard to not project those feelings of inadequacy or whatever it is onto those kids.
Yeah.
And that is something that I think that, like, I don't know, sperm banks and people involved in those processes work hard to provide now. It's like mandatory.
Yeah. So, that was interesting. And I loved hearing, he interviewed several of the moms. So like once he found all his like half siblings, he interviewed some of the moms, and these gals, number one, were so thankful to the donor, because it gave them the opportunity to have children. And also like, even the filmmaker pointed out how like, they were all very nonchalant about the process. They were like, I went to the doctor and then they did it 30 minutes and then I left. I think it was striking to him, but I think that's how women generally are about their bodies, because it's like, we're always dealing with something.
We're always.
From menstruation to menopause to pregnancy.
Yes.
Not getting pregnant, trying to get pregnant, cramps. Whatever, So I can totally imagine women just be, why even ask it? It just was no big deal. You just go to the doctor again.
Right.
I thought that was cute.
I want to see that.
All right. Well, let's take a minute and talk about one of my priorities in 2024. Skin moisture, skin. Let's reverse the clock here.
Yeah.
Hydration. What I'm looking for.
Give me all the stuff.
Oak Essentials is where it's at. You know how we're obsessed with Jenny Kane?
Yes.
Well, these people, it's like they have no limits. It's not just sweaters anymore.
The luxury.
Yeah. They created this, basically, let's call it self-care.
Yeah.
Line, Oak Essentials. It's a nutrient-rich
When you live in Colorado, that's just care, period. Like, you just need, it's like necessity. It's just not even care, just like what you need to live.
Yeah. Yeah.
Turn into an alligator out here.
It's tough times. And so this balm supports collagen production, delivers serious hydration for a luminous glow. And do you ever, like my sister and my mom growing up were those people that were always like on the hunt for like the cure. Like if you have dry skin,
yes,
you will seek
Susie, my mom used to be that person where she would put on lotion and then she'd make a noise. She'd be like, oh, like relief. And I used to be like, that is so annoying.
Yeah.
Until I hit 35 and
Things
then started
happen.
doing it. And I was like, okay, I get it. And they are not all created equal. I don't like when there's like a greasy film afterwards.
No,
Some of them smell terrible or remind me of my grandma. And like, I need something that's really going to deliver moisture, lock it in, make me feel good, smell amazing. Mm-hmm.
Luminous body lotion. That's where it's at too. Formulated with blue tansy oil. I don't know what that is,
Sounds
but
good.
I know I love it. I'm calling it 2024 is the year of the natural head to toe glow. Yes. My followers get 15% off their first order when they use code BRAINCANDY at checkout. That's 15% off your first order. OAKESSENTIALS.com, promo code BRAINCANDY. Go ahead and treat yourself from luxurious skincare to meaningful self-care. You deserve it. What do you think it is, though, about this thing where people tend, whether they're adopted or whatever, tend to want to fill in that hole in their heart of like, I wanted to meet someone I'm related to by blood? What is that? Just evolutionary?
Yeah, I think these are biological instincts that...
Do you think it's narcissism, really, though?
In a way, maybe.
Yeah.
Or like, I think it more is like, has to do with identity. I don't think it's as much narcissism as it is the question of who am I and where do I come from? That I think we as humans have been trying to answer in different ways for forever. And that of like, where do I come from?
I guess there's a fine line because who am I is very much, it's navel gazing. It just is. You know, it's inward focus. We all do it. But I mean, it's a little like, that's why. Because we like fucking love
Right.
ourselves.
And the person we're most curious about and most interested in is ourselves.
Right. Which I get it. And we all have that.
Yeah.
But it's like, I hate it. But parenting is the same way. Like when you do have a biological child, it absolutely is a partially like, that's a little me.
I know.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it's like gross.
Yeah.
That's why everyone's annoyed when parents talk about their kids. Because everyone else sees it like, yeah, we can't, they're not that great. Okay. Anywho, if you're interested in that sort of thing. It was weird though, because the doctor that donated the sperm, well, he was a medical student and then he's now a retired.
We hope he finished.
Gynecologist. He's
a
so
gynecologist
cute.
now? Well, I guess he's working in those offices.
Retired.
Got it.
Yeah. And he is so handsome and he's like 90 and he looks like hot still. And he has like,
that's the sperm you want.
I know. A smart, thoughtful, lovely guy. And he is willing to meet them all and he keeps in touch and it's
great.
Like, it's really nice. But remember that guy that got caught doing it?
And had a bunch.
That was where people were mad because he was doing it without telling them that he was the donor.
Right.
That was the like.
Yeah, he was like going in another room, freaking jerking off into a cup, and then bringing it out to the women, being like, "Here you go," and injecting his own stuff in there. That feels very different than that. That is a conflict of interest. We would call that.
Right.
Like a little bit.
Okay.
Come on.
Yeah, I get it.
But some other random med student who's like signing up for it and, maybe they, I don't know, give them a meal coupon for the semester. I don't know.
Yeah, he got $5 per.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah. And he thinks it's so funny. But he's like a gem, and that's really lucky because sometimes the guy that made the film, his brothers, they had different dads, and those dads didn't want to meet, and they didn't create like a community or anything, so it's not as,
that would be
I
tough.
think, special. That'd
be tough with 3 different ones, and man, I would want all the same, but I guess that's hard to do at that time.
There was no organization to it.
None.
It was like
I'm like,
who's
the same
here
guy.
that day?
Oh my God.
Like you're fertile. Okay, let me go down and see who's here. See if any of them are Jewish. Like if you wanted a certain like ethnicity or whatever, you had to hope, cross your fingers.
That is like playing Russian roulette with your sperm donor. Like, you're just going in there and like, oh, okay, here we go.
I mean, it's sort of like a one-night stand.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's what I'm thinking. But in a one-night stand, I can look at them and be like,
yeah, I get
that one.
Some information.
This is...
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
I hope we exchange some words in our one-night stand. Oh, man.
Okay. Here's a fun fact. I'll read it to you.
Okay. I love
this is about endangered species.
Oh, Susie with the animal facts. Okay.
I saved it just for you.
Yes.
There are 1,700 plants and animals listed as endangered or threatened with extinction. And in the aggregate, those species get $1.2 billion spent toward their preservation. The top line number, however, obscures the reality that half of the money goes to two fish, salmon and steelhead trout.
Oh, that
and
makes
then
sense.
The rest is like goes to the charismatic ones, like the spotted owl and those guys.
Yeah, charismatic fauna.
This was cracking me up. The animal with a budget line that got the least amount of money was the Virginia fringed mountain snail, which had $100 thrown its way.
No, little snail buddy. We need to crowdsource for the snail.
He's a goner.
He's a fucking goner.
I mean, dude.
You know what? We're going to discover that, like, the secretion from that mountain snail fucking, cured everything we've been complaining about this whole episode.
Or wait, what if like $100 is all it took, like, to get like a lady snail to do it?
To get
is that
on
how
top
they do
of
it? Do they bang? How's that work?
That's actually a really good question. I would imagine there is something inserted into something else, like something comes out.
Ew.
Of that. You know, like their little antenna grow out like that. I bet it's like that.
You think that's what happens?
Am I going to Google snail sex right now? Snails banging?
I mean, we do have questions.
Right. How do snails have sex? How do snails have sex? I could have said
their
reproduce.
Whole bodies are like vaginas.
Technically called a gypsobellum, the love dart is a nail clipping size needle that stays hidden in an internal sac until about a half an hour before copulation.
That is disgusting.
So basically exactly what I said.
A love dart.
They called it a love dart. And whoa!
You see it?
It's a love dart.
Big love dart energy?
Big.
Oh, gross.
But they look like they're, it's as gross as you'd imagine.
What's her love hole called?
I don't know. Oh my God, it does look like, whoa.
Oh, that is inappropriate.
Whoa,
this is not safe for snail work at all.
Love hurts. What happens when snails stab their mates? That's the National Geographic article that I will be reading.
Well, no wonder they're endangered.
Yeah.
They are. This is snail on snail crime.
Oh, gosh.
Wow. Well, I think someone needs a refund on their $100 because they're self-sabotaging.
Right. I mean, I guess if it is snail on snail crime, but a hit and run or anything like that might you might have some more time to catch the perpetrator in this situation.
Okay.
He's not running away. It's more like a hit and crawl.
200 plants and animals got $0. So, I mean, $100 seems great by comparison. And all told, 67% of spending on endangered species goes towards fish, with 7% going to mammals and 5% to birds.
Wow.
Is this shocking information to you?
It makes me nervous that we are losing the population of fish faster than scientists would like.
Yeah, it's not good news.
That doesn't sound like good news to me at all.
Yeah. I mean, you hear about recently they found like bombs and stuff in the ocean that were dumped there after the war.
Oh, yeah.
And they used to do it just like as a matter of course. They thought that was a great idea. Like, hey, we're done with these. And then sometimes you cause great damage to sea life.
Imagine.
And that's just one thing. That doesn't even account for all those straws you people are chucking in the ocean.
I gave myself like a gold star the other day because I cut all the rings on a...
When you do that, do you not feel like elementary school Sarah would be so proud?
So proud.
Yeah.
So proud. I was like, wow, look, I am it mattered to that one. It mattered. I can't save them all, but it mattered to that turtle.
Don't you feel like that problem was overstated, though?
Yeah. And I also think that it's ridiculous that we're still using those because when I was in Mexico, they've replaced all of those with paper ones now. Cardboard works just fine. All of their 6-packs.
Great point.
Yeah. What are we doing?
What are we doing? It seems like that would be even more expensive, too, than cardboard.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Huh.
Maybe it's just that you have to be more careful with the cardboard ones. They could rip and then that could, obviously, but coat them in that, like do something. Come on.
Yeah, right. Come on. Ever hear of pizza boxes?
Right. Thank you.
Although they aren't recyclable after you get the pizza grease on them, but they are beforehand, so I think they'd be fine for the 6-pack.
Yeah. And you take it out and then there you go. That was like all the beer in Mexico was like that. Makes sense. And they had the best recycling program. When you buy like a soda, like a Coca-Cola in Mexico, there are bottles that say like on it, return for whatever.
Yeah.
Eli and I were drinking one, walking down the street, eating some tacos, and we, couldn't find a trash can anywhere. So we went back into the store we got it from and we're like, here, you could throw away. And the guy reaches in his pocket, like gives us like the equivalent to like a $1. Like almost enough to buy another one. And we were like, what? And he goes, oh no, it's for you. It's a recycling program. And like, we were like,
they do that in Michigan too.
Well, we should be doing more of that. I mean, I know they have like the bottle thing where it's like 5 cents a bottle, but it's a lot that you get there and you could do it at the store.
Yeah, that's real convenient.
You don't have to go to a recycling center.
I would love to see the rate comparison of recycling in cities that do that versus like regular.
Yes.
Wonder what's more successful.
I would like to see that as well. Look into that.
we shall. Let me see. I will wrap it up momentarily. Okay.
You're helping me with my list of documentaries to watch.
What did you say?
I said you're helping me with my list of documentaries to watch.
I know. I feel like I need to get a hold of it, though. It's out of control because I'm holding back on some of them because I try to pace it because I do feel like people are like, another one.
Well, please. I feel like people are going to be like, another animal fact. But those are the best. We all need to.
Okay, this is a fact, but it's not an animal fact. And I never heard of it. It's called Benford's Law. Okay, so evidently... Mm-hmm. Real world data sets of any kind. So, pick a number, whatever in your mind. House numbers, how much money's in your bank account, whatever number.
Yeah.
That you're doing in your data set. You would imagine mathematically that the likelihood of any number being the first number would be pretty much equal. However, the likelihood of the number being 1 or 2 as the first number is about 50%.
Huh. In any data set you can imagine, a collection of things, dates on a calendar. Okay, so this is kind of like, are there more doors or wheels kind of question, where it's like, what numbers appear most frequently? And I can imagine 1 and 2 appearing most frequently. Because if you're looking at days on a calendar. Well, no.
Newton might know, but like the Scientific American, which posted this video, said that they could probably explain it over a long period of time, but they said like we kind of don't know why.
Wow.
So it's not just sort of like because
there are more ones,
a dollar bill or something.
Right.
It's more like mysterious.
Right, because that wouldn't make any sense. It's not
maybe if it were just money or just whatever, it's anything, populations, everything. That is bizarre to me.
Huh.
And I don't like that. We started like with a code that was solved, and this is like I'm leaving you with
and
a
they don't know
cliffhanger.
why.
They really don't. I'm sure, like I said, like someone like Newton would be like, "Oh, I know."
Right.
Well, actually,
yeah.
but
right.
it's probably very complicated and something that, like Neil deGrasse Tyson would be like annoying if he tried to explain.
Yeah, for sure. Huh.
But anyway,
that
so
might be one that keeps me up at night because I'm going to start thinking of random data sets
right.
and why everything.
Yeah. I love, by the way, that Scientific American on their Instagram, their videos, like this one was done by a drag queen. I have no idea why. It was unrelated.
Oh, I know who it is. The mathematician drag queen.
Oh, maybe.
She's fantastic. She's taught me so much cool stuff.
Yeah. I don't know if like they collaborated or
like
what,
the number 0 or like all these cool things.
Well, she taught us about Benford's law.
Nice.
Okay, let's wind it down. Sarah's a heckler magnet.
Magnet.
At least she's not a heckler.
Thank God. No, I'm like the opposite. I want to talk not at all. And it's the time that I want the least amount of attention.
Is that why you sat in the back?
Well, no, we just got there like...
You were late.
Yeah. Not late.
Okay.
Just like half an hour early. But other people showed up way earlier.
Mm-hmm. Well, maybe I do wonder like if crowd work crowds are like a type.
I think they are.
You know, where they kind of want to be the star.
Yeah.
You know, because that you're more likely, of course, to be.
Right. Seemed like a few people in the audience were like that. And I do not like to be that because I'm like, oh my God, I roll my eye. And then when the audience tries to be funny, I'm like, don't take the job of don't do that.
No, follow the Johnny Carson model, which is like straight man. Like set the comic up.
Yeah, set him up.
That's
what I like to do.
Silk dress code. We don't know what that lady was all about, but Sarah thinks she's on the spectrum and just really was passionate about weather.
Come on, we know who this lady.
We were hoping for a party, but it was windy. Sperm.
Breaking Newton's laws.
Breaking.
Pushing back on the laws of physics. My brother Jordan's really going to like this story.
Will he? He loves sperm stories? Or
no,
physics?
He likes physics.
Okay, gotcha.
He likes sperm stories. Nah, he's an engineer.
Enough of them.
Oh, that's funny.
Filling in the Blanks documentary is on Amazon Prime. That one's about like the DNA shenanigan. It is funny to me, that concept of how, you know, we didn't know what we didn't know at that time. This was like the 50s or 60s, and how like they truly thought like they were going to get away with this forever.
Right.
And that no one would ever know that your dad's not your dad.
Oh, God.
And then,
doesn't that kind of stuff make you think, like, even just the fact that we didn't have seatbelts back in the day, it makes me think, what are we doing now?
Right.
That 50 years from us now are going to be like, what the fuck was that about? Like, I think that about the fact that humans are allowed to drive cars. That future us are going to be like, can you believe that they gave us cell phones and let us sit behind essentially like a tank and just like cruise down the street at upwards of 90 miles an hour?
So like your feeling is that so much of what we do is unsafe?
I mean, insane. As soon as I bet like the number of car accidents and the number of like all of that stuff, that's going to be avoided and cut down. I mean, sure, there might be, you know, trouble here and there with, as we talked about, with like all the, I don't know.
Yeah, you can't win them all.
Can't win them all. But I bet the rate of accidents with those are way less than, you know, we're not going to have DUIs. We're not going to have drunk people getting in accidents like that.
I mean, we can talk about it next time, but like it does bring to mind how like at the same time we're having all these advancements and things like that, like self-driving, whatever, like parts of planes are just falling out.
Oh, because we haven't updated that. If I still have a cigarette holder on my, get new airplanes. What are we doing?
Sarah,
we're tired of that shit.
New. That was a brand new plane. November it was made.
No.
Yes.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah.
Okay,
this is like sloppy manufacturing is what this is.
Oh my God. This is it. Our plane's wings are falling off.
Maybe they should make self-making planes, and humans
This
shouldn't
is what
be
happens when
involved.
you don't pay people enough to do the job is probably what's going on here.
One
People are
plane found a
overworked.
tequila bottle, like on the new plane.
No.
Boeing is wild. That place is like
Wild.
It's like Animal House over there, I think.
Jesus, it's like the telemarketers movie.
Anyway, I've said too much. Well, something we can depend on that will not break or be terrible, like air travel, is HelloFresh. You know we love HelloFresh around here. And I wanted to specifically mention that the family-friendly plan, which I'd never tried before, we got last week, and it's my new favorite. They sent enchilada recipe that was out of this world. It was so easy, so tasty, obviously family-friendly. Kids love it. And so I wanted to recommend that. And now they also have breakfast items that they're sending that are just amazing and so cool. I love that they're branching out in that way. It's just great to not have to go to the grocery store in this weather and to have delicious meals that everyone loves. And they're so affordable. And they have a deal for you. Go to HelloFresh.com/braincandyfree and use code braincandyfree for free breakfast for life. One breakfast item per box while subscription is active. That's free breakfast for life at HelloFresh.com/braincandyfree with code braincandyfree. So good. America's #1 meal kit and also my #1 meal kit. And I want to introduce a guest to the show today. Lucy Miller is a member of the cast from the documentary that I talked about a few episodes ago called The Greatest Show Never Made. It's the one about like in the early 2000s where all these people were cast on this reality show and thought they were going to be competing for all this money and living for a year doing this amazing project. And then they show up and it's all just sort of like not actually happening. And the guy that was supposed to be doing it turned out to be either a fraud or just like had delusions of grandeur and really thought this was going to be a great idea. But anyway, the documentary explores what happened and then the fallout and how it affected the people who kind of gave up everything. They quit their jobs, they left their families and their boyfriends and girlfriends to go film for a year. And then it was like so embarrassing and difficult when nothing came of it. And so I'm going to be talking to Lucy today about her experience. She is a doll and kind of comparing notes about like the difficulties of having not been on a reality TV show. Sarah and I are always talking about the difficulties of having been on one. In this case, it was a lot of the same problems because it was very public. Everybody knew that they were supposed to be on this show. It was covered in the media. And then it was almost as if the cast were victim blamed. It was like, how could they be so stupid? Why did they think this was legitimate? Instead of vilifying the actual person who took advantage of people's, naivete or, trust. And so we talk about that. And in the documentary, the guy, his name is Nikita Russian, he comes and is interviewed as well and explains his side of the story and why things went sideways. But it was totally fascinating. If you haven't seen The Greatest Show Never Made, you should check it out. The people that were cast on this fictitious reality show were delightful, and you can see why they would be great on reality TV. But in this case, they're great on the documentary. And I believe it's on Prime Video, Amazon Prime Video. Greatest Show Never Made. And we're going to talk to Lucy Miller today about her experience. Welcome, Lucy. Lucy Miller, I harassed you into coming on Brain Candy Podcast. Welcome to the show. I have a lot of questions for you.
Wow, I can't wait to try and answer them.
Well, I found in you a kindred spirit, I feel, because even though the reality show that you thought you were going to make never got made, you're sort of experiencing what it may have been like now, because the documentary is providing like a simulation of like people meeting you and you don't know them and they're talking about your life. And how weird is that?
Yeah, it is. It's weird. That's weird. The weirdest thing is that it's happening 21 years later.
That is quite a delay.
There's a slight delay. And after things not have been long forgotten, because I have never forgotten
Right.
What happened. But I certainly had not, it was there. It was back in 2002. Certainly not now. But when you really want something and you kind of want it too much and you just try and it doesn't happen. And then you forget about it. And then things seem to kind of just come your way once you've left that thought.
Isn't that funny? Yeah, that's a very relatable thing, even though your experience is bizarre. That feeling of like holding on too tight, and then once you finally release it, you get what you wanted all along. That's cool. That's redemptive.
Yeah, that's how
I like
feels.
that. Well, okay, so let's go back in time. And it's the wild world of new reality TV. It's just the Wild West where there are no rules and everyone's sort of figuring it out as they go along. And within that context, you're attempting to get on a show that was advertised and it sounded pretty great. And because the parameters of the genre weren't really defined yet, there was really no way for you to know whether or not it was the real deal. It seemed like the real deal. And what was it that you wanted out of it? You just thought this will be fun, or what was your intention?
I think it was just very much that moment in time where I was ready to take the leap. And if it had happened, if I'd have spied that advert at any other time in my life, then perhaps I wouldn't have gone for it. It was right at the point where I was looking out for something. I was ready. I was a bit bored. I was thinking, come on, I'm ready for the biggest adventure of my life, but I don't know what that's going to be. And I kind of I was waiting for it to come to me. And I guess it did.
It was an adventure. That's true.
I know whether it's be careful what you wish for or what. But, and the advert that I saw, it was the tiniest advert ever. So I was clearly, you had to look for it. Everybody involved must have been looking for something at that particular time in their lives.
Wow.
Or it could easily have been missed. Yeah.
I feel like so sad because that's a real actor of vulnerability. I feel like where you're saying yes to the universe, you're ready for whatever opportunity comes and you're going to go for it. And then you kind of got spit in the face in a way, because when you and your fellow castmates showed up, wait, let me ask you first before we get to the moment of reckoning. What was the audition like for you? Did you get a sense that what did they think about you, or what did they see in you that was like, this is our gal? And by they, do I really mean he?
I guess so. It would have been. Now I know, because obviously I've gone through different stages. Back, then I didn't know. I just knew what I saw. Obviously, it's strange to talk about, because I can talk about it as I knew then, or I can talk about it as I know now. But basically, yeah, it was. There were lots of people. There was a team, and it was completely and utterly believable. And that was the thing, because so many people have said, or I've read about so many people saying, how could they have not known, or what, weren't there any red flags, or, and it was so well done, and it was kind of quirky, which I liked. It was, set on this. It was a venue on an island, in London, but it was great the way you had to get on a rowing boat to get there. There was no other way of getting to this venue. And it just had that something special about it. It could have been anywhere. He could have chosen anywhere to have those auditions. But, he had this wonderful flair in so many ways, which also was to do with the choice of venue. And it was the kind of place which you would have expected to have been expensive,
Yeah.
There was food laid on. There was, like I said, lots of people. The team, there were cameras. He was there, incredibly confident, charismatic. I had no reason to think there was anything wrong with the situation.
I mean, that sounds totally legitimate and totally exciting, something you'd want to be a part of. So then once you do get chosen, it's almost as if you feel honored, probably feel special. At least that's how it was for us. When we get that call, it's like, oh, I get to be somebody. How fun is that?
And that's another thing that a lot of people can make fun of, isn't it? And you know what? There's nothing wrong with wanting to be somebody. There's nothing wrong with yearning for an adventure. And I have been through stages of feeling embarrassed by it, or at least feeling embarrassed by other people's responses of wanting that, but honestly, it was just so exciting, and I still find it exciting. And I've got to, I've told myself that that's okay.
It is okay. And I feel sad that I was reading about those feelings that you had of shame and embarrassment. And I understand why, but what a drag that you felt punished for, I don't know, trying something different and taking a risk. It's just, man.
I think some people like to bring others down for stepping outside the box, being brave enough to do something. Perhaps it's because it's something they would like to do, but don't have they just feel that it's something they can't do. Or I don't know. I think there's many reasons, isn't there? But it's a shame that happens, because that kind of thing can then affect you, the person that's brave enough to do it, and completely make them doubt themselves. It can do so much damage, and it's such a shame. And I do think that there's a lot of other things in my life that I've chosen not to do because. Yeah.
I hate that, but I understand. That's really interesting. If it's any consolation, even if the show had been the real deal, a big hit, you're famous, you still would have gotten a lot of that same feedback and criticism because of whatever you may have done on the show. I mean, if you're putting yourself out there, there will be people that, are hurtful and rude. So that's
Absolutely.
The same regardless.
And I think, even when The Greatest Show came out recently, obviously, I've had that conversation with other people and, had conversation with myself. But it's something that I feel now, I feel that I can deal with that now. Back then, it was very different. I feel nowadays, when you get it, if you get it, I think there's a bigger group of people out there that have your back. I feel that we know so much now about mental health, about what a comment can do to someone, that I really do feel that the majority of people out there are good. And when you get it, you're gonna get stood up for. You're gonna, you're not on your own. But back then, I feel we didn't openly talk about mental health and how comments affect people, and it was virtually unheard of. So I feel that you really were out on your own. So, well, for me anyway, I felt that way. And so when I started to hear things, my natural reaction was just to go within myself. And that's painful.
Well, because when you showed up with the cast and it became clear that something wasn't right, this wasn't what you signed up for or thought you signed up for, you all went through this process together of the light bulb going off and being like, okay, now what are we going to do? And then let's fast forward to then when you return home after this sort of failed project.
Yeah.
What was in that moment that you're describing where you're feeling maybe embarrassed or whatever? What is that like? Do you share that with your family or do you just try to move on?
At the time, if I'm honest, again, I would find it easier to share that now. Being older, knowing more, having more, sort of like getting over a lot of the self-esteem that I felt that I didn't have back then. But no, I think back then it was more to do with trying to hide it, trying to, almost feeling ashamed of feeling ashamed.
Right. The feelings about the feelings.
So I remember being feeling very apologetic for those around me. Yeah, I know.
Man.
So my boyfriend at the time that I'd left, I'd gone back to, I remember feeling that towards him, towards close friends who were probably worried about me going and doing this thing. They express their concern, and then having to go back. Yeah, I actually felt quite apologetic. Sorry, you were right. What was I thinking? Right. I hope I'm sorry to have put you through that. I remember feeling like that. Yeah.
Well, because the premise was unusual. It was supposed to be for an entire year. So the commitment that you were making was enormous. So most productions wouldn't be even asking that much. So that was already sort of a risk that you were taking, like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to go away for a year. I'm going to give up everything. And this poor boyfriend leaving that guy at home. And then it wasn't what you thought. What I want to know, what is your assessment of this bozo, Nikita Russian? I should be nicer to him because he seemed wounded and broken in the film. But like I would feel at that time, I'd be like, this bozo. Yes. What was he thinking? Was he thinking this was going to work out and it was going to be amazing? Or was it some sort of weird power trip? What was it?
My gosh. Oh, my feelings towards this have changed.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, my feelings towards him have changed constantly. And watching The Greatest Show, because the first time I'd seen him since then was sitting down to watch The Greatest Show Never Made.
Could you even believe?
I'd been waiting a whole year to actually see this finished show. To watch somebody else tell your story, it's kind of, that's kind of strange. And you desperately want that story to be told well. And I have to say, it's the effort that's been put in to tell that story authentically, it was amazing, and it is told brilliantly. So I'm so happy with that. And also, I've learned more about the story. But then to see Nick and hear Nick talk about it was, at first, it brought a lot of the old feelings come rushing back. And I was really actually quite surprised at how raw it still felt. To watch that old footage of when he was a kid, making those films with his friends, who I also got to know now as well, that was really hard, because I'm a mum of a boy. Mm-hmm. And so to understand, a child struggling like that, and how then, that affected him as he grew, that I found incredibly sad. But to understand more maybe of how he evolved and turned into the adult that he is, that he was when he was 25 and that he is now. So he talks a lot about his trauma, and it felt really hard. But then I also find it then conflicting with that feeling of just really being pissed off of being treated.
Well, you can feel them both. That's fair. One of the components that was new to me, but my husband, who's British, says that it's maybe more common in England, that style of recreation that is more fanciful and artistic. We're real boring over here, you know. You guys have more flair. And I wondered what that was like for you doing it was actually acting, performative recreations. And it was a hoot because you were in those clothes and everything was like legit from that era. How did it feel?
I loved it. It was hilarious. We just had so much fun. It's so much fun. And yeah, you know, working with the costume people and everything, you know, and recreating the noughties Lucy, if you like. I mean, I've got a framed picture of myself in my living room because it was such an experience for me, and it just came my way. And I just feel so grateful of the experience. And it was bizarre.
That's a gift, though. What fun to play as an adult.
Absolutely. And yeah, I mean, I played myself 20 years ago. You couldn't make it up. And I've, you know, never expected it to have, for this journey to have been, you know, 20 years plus. But that's actually what has happened. And it's just been bubbling away unknown to me as I've been getting on with my life. And we've ended up being able to talk about it with our older heads, with, you know, the other experiences that have happened along the way where we've been able to, you know, just compare it with this, that, and the other. And I'm now a mum, and what would I say to my kids? And you know, so it's. I wouldn't. Would I change it? I would not change it. No, I wouldn't.
I hope that it's been healing in some way, allowed you to process it in some way. I mean, I loved watching it. It's totally fascinating. And I'm so glad that you chose to take a risk again and share it, because that took some courage.
Thank you. It did feel brave again, but it also was just hugely just enjoyable. And what was great was that everybody around us was aware of that. So, you know,
you could trust them.
And they knew that we need that was something that we needed, and it also needed to end up that way as well.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, it's a case of serendipity, you know, from originally applying to 21 years later, and
what
now,
a long, strange trip.
Now speaking to you. It's a long, strange trip, and I have to say, I now am able to look at it fondly, which is absolutely brilliant. Yeah,
I mean, that's a beautiful thing. I'm so thankful that you came on Brain Candy and that we're friends. And I can be like, we can have a support group for like reality TV survivors. And we have one question we ask everybody at the end of the show, which is, what do you keep in the trunk of your car? Or as you say, the boot. Yep, we want to know.
What do I have in there?
Yep.
Okay. Oh my gosh, it's probably quite boring. I know what's in there because I'm constantly. There is a big golfing umbrella because it rains
England.
all the time.
Because England.
A big golfing umbrella is absolutely, you have to keep that in the boot of your car here. But also I have 2 booster seats. I have 10-year-old twins who now refuse to use the booster seat. But I kind of, we're discussing whether that lawful or not. So we keep them in the boot.
What's the age in England for that?
If need be. I think it's because at that age they're all so different inside.
It's the weight, yeah. It's always so fun when they are done with it. And now we're waiting. My son's 11, and we're waiting till he can sit in the front seat. It's so exciting. Whenever that'll be 13. It takes so long.
So mine can do that now, as long as they are big enough.
No way.
As long as they're big enough for the strap to fit them properly. So, and I'm like that. I'm like, it's a very close thing. Hence, they are in the boot.
Yeah, not the children, the boosters.
Yeah, so that's what
I love it. That's perfect. Some people have empty trunks, and that's always like, ooh, what does that tell me about you? I have to analyze it.
Okay, right,
maybe that means they've purged all their whatever. We have a theory that what's in the trunk of your car is like indicative of where you are in your life.
Wow. Well, mine. Let's put that in there just in case. Caution.
Yes.
Although I am a person that is a lot, I would still take the jump. I still have it within me.
You're a risk taker.
Yeah, because
you keep it there, but you're not using it.
Right. Yeah, but I would like to have a safety net.
Yes. This is see?
Right. So I think probably that's really interesting.
I know. It's so fun every time. You should ask your friends over Christmas. Be like, what's in the boot of your car?
I'm going to do that. I love that.
Then you can like psychoanalyze them.
Yeah, no, I think I'm braver than a lot of people I know. Yes. But I do like to know that, I like to have that safety net. So I know that I'm still capable of applying to a show and doing something, but I will look. Do you know the Tracers?
No.
Is that, you don't have that in the States?
No.
Love to be on.
Do it. What are you waiting for? I'm gonna talk you into this.
You know why though? Because you have to go away for 6 weeks to film it. And I've got 2 little ones. I can't be away from them for 6 weeks.
If you asked them, would they say do it?
What, the kids?
Yeah.
I mentioned it to my husband.
What did he say?
Really, Lucy? Really, Lucy?
Glutton for punishment. You know what? It would be fun though, and it might be redemptive. But whenever like they call me about the show and say, "Do you want to come back?" I always ask my son, "Hey, what do you think?" And he always says yes. So I wonder if your twins would say, "Do it."
Yes, but do you know what? I would miss them. I couldn't. 6 weeks. Oh, they grow so much. They look different at the end of that. If the show people said, we'll make sure that you can have visits, you can see them, then I would, if I was allowed to see my kids. But for a solid 6 weeks, I don't think I could. Well, I know.
I hear you. I know. That's a real choice. But hey, to be continued. I love this. I love that we don't know what Lucy's going to be doing.
It's not over yet.
You're an absolute doll. I can't tell you how much I adore you, and I'm so glad we got to meet.
Oh, thank you so much. And thank you so much for asking me on your show.
You're stuck with me now. We're going to be friends forever. You're going to be like, oh no, I can't believe I went on that show. You'll have another one you'll regret. Thanks, Lucy. You're off the hook.